The computer assignments and how we do them on the advanced course differs quite a lot from the basic course. On the advanced course, you have 8 assignment sets, each of which has 3 smaller assignments. So altogether, we have 24 assignments. All assignments, the challenges part is optional, but tools and analysis are mandatory. I encourage everyone to also try the challenges because that really pushes you. It integrates knowledge from different units and not only that specific unit. So you have 24 assignments altogether, and additionally you will have an analysis project or Monte Carlo project at the end of the course. So you will be working on 25 different things, and each of these tools and analysis tasks, also assignments, contain smaller different analysis tasks. So it's not like you would be having one analysis project that you complete, another project that you complete, and a third project that you complete, like we do in the basic course, but instead we have more focused tasks in these units or as tasks. Submissions are mostly analysis files. Some tasks require you to submit a file that you exported, but most simply require that you write your analysis file. You don't have to include any output. If there is something that you need to interpret, something that you need to explain, you just write that as a comment to the analysis file. Importantly, make sure that when you submit an analysis file, make sure that it runs. If it doesn't run, you can use error capturing like capture in Stata or try catch in R, so that I can see the error messages that you get, but the code still runs to the end, so I can run them myself and see what you did. Done in groups. So you're not working on assignments alone like you do on the basic course, but instead you do them in groups following the so-called prime time model. I'll explain that model on the next slide. Then I'm not giving you screencasts like I do on the basic course. Instead, I give you a task, and it's your job to figure out how to do it. And there are a couple of reasons why I want to do it this way. First of all, if I give you a screencast, that would give you one way of doing things. But there are often multiple different ways of doing things, particularly when you go to more advanced stuff, and one is not necessarily always the best. So I'll let you consider different alternatives instead of giving you one set of tools to apply. The second reason is that a big part of being a good quantitative analyst is that you can figure out and learn things that are new to you. Quite often I encounter things that I've never done before. No one has taught me how to do those things, and I need to figure out. I get an error message that I've never seen. There is not a single book or not a single course that would tell me specifically about that problem, but I need to figure it out. There is guidance available. So you will work alone, you work as a group, and then you can contact me for instruction. Let's take a look at how it works in practice. So you have these tools, analysis, and challenge assignments. The idea of tools is that this is mechanics. It's the practice of using your statistical software effectively and efficiently. It's not necessary, the tools are not necessarily related to the analysis techniques that we discuss in the unit or the research designs. For example, we might have data management in tools, which is entirely generic. We might have graphics, which is entirely generic. We might have generating random numbers, doing simulations, doing matrices, exporting things, importing things. They are not related to any particular analysis. So you can start doing the tools already in the beginning of the unit. You don't have to wait for the seminar. Data analysis assignment, the second part is analysis, and this is where we practice the techniques that the unit is about. So they are more focused tasks like generate the data set, apply two-stage least squares, apply OLS regression, compare the result, which one of these results would you trust and why? That kind of questions. And then there's the challenge. The challenge assignment is just one question or one set of focused questions. And the challenge assignments are something that I will use in the final exam. So the challenge assignments typically integrate things from different units. you might also want to return to these challenge assignments later on. If you think that you can't do it based on just the knowledge from Unit 2, for example, then you can complete the first 3 units and then return to the challenge assignment of Unit 2. I recommend that you take a look at these because my exam questions will be on the level of the challenge assignments. I don't expect any of you to complete all the challenge assignments, but this is really for you to push yourself. Now, to the prime time learning model. We'll do the data analysis assignments following an adapted version of prime time learning model. The idea of this prime time learning model was developed at the physics department of University of Jyväskylä for physics education. The idea is that there is this sequence of principles, practice, problems, and prime time. And students work through this circle for each set of topics, and then they repeat again. The idea of principles is that you simply study some facts. So you study facts, you study techniques, and just learn by reading, memorizing things, watching videos, that kind of things. Then you practice what you learned. You practice alone or you practice in a group. And then there are problems which are more challenging things. This is more about application, and particularly the challenge task is certainly within the problems area. And after you've done that, work alone first, then meet with your group. I'll explain the particularities of this course on the next slide. Then you have a prime time session with the instructor, me. So you get to talk about the problems you had. We'll go through different alternatives of doing stuff and so on. So I'll meet with every group here. This is just the idea of what you do. You study alone, then you meet with group, you do practice. You might practice alone, you might practice with group. Then you do problems with group, and then you meet with the instructor, and then that's more of a reflection task and how this relates to different levels of learning. How it applies to this course? Well, this is the timeline of the unit, which I explained before. And you start by working on tools, and it is important that you do this alone. So you take the tools assignment first. You can start even before the written assignment deadline, or if you don't do the written assignment, then you just start from the beginning of the course. The tools is where you practice the mechanics of statistical software. It is important that you know, like for a chef, it is important that you know how to use a knife, and it requires practice. For a quantitative researcher, it is important to know how you use statistical software. It requires practice, and this tool is the tools assignment is the kind of like practice the mechanics thing. Then when you have completed the tools, hopefully fully, maybe you have not been able to do some of the tasks, then you compare, you meet with your group and you compare the analysis files that you produced. So in each assignment you produce an analysis file, you meet with group, you compare analysis files that you produced when working alone, then you merge them, prepare one submission file that you submit, and you submit as a group, and you will be graded as a group for this assignment. Immediately after you submit the assignment, it will unlock the model answer for you. The model answer shows one way of completing the assignment. For tools, there's pretty much always one ideal way of doing things. For analysis, there might be different ways. For challenges, there almost certainly are different ways of doing things. So you unlock the answer, the model answer, by submitting, and then you will study that model answer as a group and see what you can learn from that. Then you repeat the analysis assignment. You can either continue the analysis as a group. If you find it challenging, it might be easier to work as a group, or you can work on the analysis first alone, then meet as a group to prepare one submission. Then you do the same, you look at the model answer, then you do the same for challenge. You can either work alone and then meet, or you can work as a group to start with. You prepare the answer, you submit, you immediately unlock the model answer, you review the model answer, and then you compare. After you have done these 3 assignments, on your own schedule, you book a meeting with me for prime time session. So we will meet probably on Zoom, and we'll talk about the different decisions you made, why you made them, how you could interpret the results, what kind of difficulties you had, and so on. You might have figured out something that I didn't know, so you can tell me something. Of course, you don't have to do this alone. So I give you the assignment. I will not give you like step-by-step guide on how to do it, but I provide you this hotline guidance. The idea of a hotline is that if you have very specific questions, then you can easily get answers to those questions. I have my phone number on the course website, and you can use WhatsApp and Signal to contact me with focused questions. If the question is easy to answer, then I'll reply, typically fairly quickly. If it's a more difficult question, or if you want to get face-to-face guidance, you can also use the hotline to schedule a meeting to discuss a particular problem. The idea of a hotline is that if you have something that really blocks your progress, so you have been thinking about why there's an error message from your statistical software for an hour with your group together, you just can't figure it out, that blocks your progress, so you can't really move forward. And this is, the hotline is there for keeping you going. So instead of spending hours of trying to troubleshoot something, unless the assignment is specifically about troubleshooting, just contact me, we'll figure it out together, or I'll just tell you to try something else that works around the problem. So this is the idea. You'll start alone with tools. It is important that you work alone, practice mechanics, practice reading documentation. Then you meet as a group, you prepare one submission, then you study the model answer as a group. Then you move to analysis. You can either do the same work alone first and then meet, then prepare submission, or you can do it as a group work from the beginning, depending on your schedule. You will decide on your own schedule. So you will decide on when you have these different, when you submit the different parts, when you have the prime time session, but there's the deadline, and the computer assignment deadline is at the end of the unit, and by that time you need to have submitted all the assignments that you will do for the unit. You will need to have had the prime time session, and then I will grade you after the deadline. I generally don't comment on the analysis files much because we've had this face-to-face session here where we talk about the different decisions and alternatives that you did. Finally, we have the Monte Carlo project, which is a bit of a bigger assignment. The idea of this assignment is that I want you to be able to produce and evaluate methodological evidence. I don't expect you to become methodological researchers, but this is not difficult to do. And it gives you another tool that you can use to teach yourself. Sometimes if a reviewer challenges your decisions in an article, challenges that your choice of analysis technique is incorrect or estimation technique is incorrect, then a quick Monte Carlo simulation in the response letter can shut down the reviewer's argument. The idea of a Monte Carlo simulation here, I'll talk about the mechanics later on in the course, is to pick a rule of thumb. So you can pick a rule of thumb, for example, that the chi-square test is sensitive to the sample size. It can be trusted if the sample size is large. Or variance inflation factor should be less than 10, otherwise the regression results are not trustworthy. Pick a rule of thumb, test it with a Monte Carlo project. You can do a couple of experimental conditions, for example, take the variance inflation factor, simulate data with different levels of variance inflation factor, different levels of sample size, so that is 2 conditions, then report the results. You need to submit 2 files for this assignment. You will need to submit the analysis file that implements the simulation. It might be a page or 2, depending on how complicated the simulation is. And then you will present the results to others, so you will need to submit a PowerPoint presentation. I will grade these analysis file and PowerPoint presentation together. Of course, help is available the same way here than it is on the assignments. Some of the more of the assignments toward the end of the course, the tools parts, are going to be focused more on Monte Carlo instead of any other mechanics. That is just a way to guide you through the project. So this is about assignments, and it's going to be challenging. I hope it's going to be fun as well. I look forward to seeing what kind of questions you have about the assignment.